Welcome back to Introduction to Engineering Design. This is Module 7.4, Part 2, and now what we're working on is assembling our subassemblies 1, 2, 3, and 4 together into the completed car, and then we'll add the windshield. So let's start out, File, New, Assembly. We're going to start with Assembly Subassembly 1, and I'm going to go ahead and open that. I'm not going to worry too much about the orientation because I fixed that before. So we'll go ahead and click the check mark. And let's go ahead and start to put in other components. And we're not going to do any mirror components in this assembly. We're just going to insert the individual components. So what I need subassembly 2, 3, and 4. We're going to open those. And we're going to drop them in. They're subassembly 2, 3, and 4 is our tire. So let's get busy here and get to lining these up. So you'll notice that everything floats around except the very first thing I put in the T9 bed is my fixed component. So let's start mating these components together. And what we're going to do is we're going to mate the double connector to the double connector end. And I'm missing one other component here. Let me insert the connecting block here. T9 connector. And that's what I need. So you're going to notice that the T9 connector mates a double block to a single block. So let's start by putting wheels on all of our model pieces. So a lot of different ways we can do this, but I'm going to go ahead and use the concentric component of the axle and the shaft. So we'll start choosing the round axle and the round hole. Let me clear these selections here. Choosing the axle shaft. Interesting. There we go, round axle shaft, and the round hole. That's got a slight draft to it, so it's not going to make concentric. I need to flip the alignment of that so it goes on the appropriate manner, and select it. Now you'll notice that when I did that, I didn't quite want that. So let me go ahead and undo that concentric relationship. So try that again. Clear those selections. And flip that orientation. Concentric. And accept it. Now what you should see is I should be able to move this axle shaft in and out, and I can. So now what I'm going to do is mate my axle hub and wheel hub. Said that backwards, the wheel hub to the axle hub. Make those coincident. And now I've mated my first wheel. I want to bring another wheel into this assembly. So that is subassembly 4. I want to bring 3 more of those wheels in here. There's 1, 2, 3. So I've got my 4 wheels. So let's go ahead and finish mating these. About my axle shafts. Flip that orientation. Accept it. Line up the wheel hub face with the rim face and accept that. Now you'll notice that I don't have these wheels. They will still rotate here. Well, you'll see that here in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and put wheels on the back as well. Again, using the concentric mate about the axle shaft. and the face of the axle shaft to the wheel. This one, I'm going to go ahead and use the temporary planes. So let's view temporary axis. I'm going to choose the axis of the rim and align it to the axis of the axle shaft. Roll the model so I can see it. And that is correct. You'll notice that it kind of tucked itself in behind here. So I'm going to have to pull that one out. Let me exit out of that so I can find this piece. There it is. I'm going to turn off my temporary axes so it's a little easier for me to see. There's my wheel. So I'm going to pull it through the model. Oh, and rats, I did orient it backwards. Well, this is a good exercise. I can come back down and find that mate, which was my last mate right here. And I can flip the mate alignment. Now it's lined up. Let's continue mating. Axle hub, wheel hub. Those are concentric. Now you're going to notice that all my wheels spin. And I'm going to leave them like that. But what that does is when I look down at all of my subassembly 4s, and I should see 4 subassembly 4s in here as I collapse the entire tree. So I've got subassembly 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm just going to drag these down here so that it's all right. You will notice that they're all underdefined. Every one of them is underdefined, and that is simply because they will rotate and they're not constrained in that rotational axis. All right, let's go ahead and stick a connector in here. So I've got this square connector to square connector. So let's do this. I'm going to mate the back edge of that connector to the front edge of this connector. And then similarly, the bottom of that single connector piece to the bottom. It doesn't want to do that probably because it's not parallel. So I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use some temporary axes, or view the axes in this connector. So let me go to my connector. So T9 connector, and I'm going to turn on and view the planes. I'm going to go to my 1-block connector, and I'm going to view the planes in that also. I'll view planes. And now you'll notice that I can line up the planes and mate this. Coincident? And similarly, right plane of the connector to the front plane. And that is fully defined. So now I've got my connector in place on one of the components. I'm going to go ahead and just line up the faces here. It's a little bit interesting, a little bit of a collision there. So I'm going to line up the face of this body to the face of the bed, top of the passenger compartment to the top of the bed, the side of the body to the side of the bed. I need to go ahead and insert another component. So I'm going to insert that connector. Drop that in. This time, though, I'm going to mate the single side to the single side. So we'll go ahead and mate this back surface to the back surface of the connector. We'll try and mate the top surface here. Doesn't want to do that. Again, this model is not probably built quite right. That particular part is not built quite right. So the way that we'll mate this is we'll just mate the surface here and the surface of the socket. Yeah, again, there's a little bit of a modeling error here. So we're going to have to use the planes. So View, Planes, choose this mid-plane. In the mid-plane, and accept all those. So you see there's a slight gap there. And that's probably actually modeled that way to reflect the gap. All right, last thing we're going to do, I'm going to turn off the view of the planes, and we're just going to mate surface to surface, top edge to top edge, and then side body to side body. There's my assembled model. So at this point we're going to stop because we've got the body together. Next I'm going to show you, in the next video, I'll show you how to fix the wheels, because what you're going to notice is everything is constrained and mated appropriately within this model, except you're going to notice that all of the wheels have the minus in front of them. The subassembly 4 all have a minus in front of them, and that's because they're still rotating. And I'm going to show you a way to preserve the rotation feature, but also fully constrain it. So that's it for now.